In this video, I'm going to show you an AI automation that will log all of your expenses completely for you. So all you have to do is just take a quick picture of the receipt, right when you get in the car. You don't have to put it off and have that end of the period panic when you are freaking out trying to remember everything that you bought throughout the period and digging through your bank account trying to remember. So right when you buy something, all you have to do is just take a quick picture, send it to this automation, and it will take care of the rest. So I'm going to start out with a quick demo showing you exactly how this works, and then I'm going to walk you through downloading a free template for this workflow and then showing you how to set it up yourself. So without wasting any more time, we can jump right into the demo. So I've pulled up an example receipt here. I'm just going to drag this into Telegram. If you don't know what Telegram is, it's fairly similar to WhatsApp. It's just a messaging platform, and it allows us to do stuff like this, or we can make a bot. And I'm just going to send this receipt to my bot and have it process and enter and record all of the expenses for this receipt. So we can send this off. We can go over to our Google Sheet here and wait for it to populate. So as you can see here, it logs the name of the item, the price, the line item, the receipt number, the quantity, the total for the receipt, and then the date that we actually made that purchase. So that's taken care of completely for us. All I had to do is just send a quick picture of the receipt, and everything else was taken care of for me. So really quick, before we jump into downloading this workflow, I do just want to mention that if you are a business owner and you want something like this built for your business, then book a meeting using the link in the description, and I'm more than happy to build out any AI automations or AI agents that you would like to use inside of your business. So without wasting any more time, let's jump into downloading that template and setting it up for yourself. So to get started building this for yourself, we are first going to come over to a platform called N8N.io. It should look something like this, and you're going to want to create an account or sign in if you already have one. And once you do that, you're going to be brought to your overview page. From here, all we need to do is just select create a new workflow, and this will open up an empty editor. Now, there's not actually much you have to do here, because you can go down to the link in the description where I've linked access to this template for completely free. So go to that link, you can download the template, and it will be in the form of a JSON file. Once you've gotten that file, all we need to do is come up to the top right and select these three dots, and then we'll go down to import from file, and then just select that JSON file that you just downloaded. So once you do that, it will bring us to a workflow that looks something like this. So I'm going to explain each part, and then I'm going to walk you through setting it up for yourself kind of as we go through it. So this first step here on the left side, we have a Telegram trigger. So triggers are just nodes or steps that start the rest of the workflow or the rest of the automation. And in this case, since we are using Telegram, we are essentially just waiting for a message to be sent inside of Telegram. So to get started with this, we actually need a Telegram account in order to connect it into N8N here. So create an account, and then what we will need to do is we can come into our account, and we're actually going to want to start a conversation with what is called BotFather. So you can see that here on my screen. It is a little weird. It does work though. So the username is @BotFather, capital B, capital F. And once you start a conversation, I believe this happens automatically, but /start, and then it will give us a list of commands. So we actually need to create a new bot. So we do that by sending a message with /new bot, and then it walks us through naming it right here. And then it gives us an API key right here. So the API key is going to be this long string of characters and numbers right there. And so what we need to do is actually copy that, and we can go back to Telegram, create a new credential, and then just paste in that access token right here. Click save, and then that will connect your Telegram bot into N8N here. So then we can click on this link right here and actually start messaging that bot, and it should just look like a normal text conversation, probably how we are all used to by this point. So it'll look like this. And then the next step is we are just getting that file that was just sent. So whenever it receives a file, the next step then just gets that file back. So it's going to get the file by the file ID, which was received in the first step. So there's nothing we have to do here. And then the next two steps are actually just uploading it to our Google Drive and then downloading it again. So I was running into an issue. I don't know why we can't just directly reference this to the OpenAI step right here, which I'll go over in just a second. But we do have to actually upload it and then download it from our Google Drive, which is maybe something you want to do anyways, just so you have a record of all the receipts that you are sending through this. So if it's ever something doesn't work or you need to go back and look at something, you can head over to a folder in your Google Drive and just look at it that way. So to do this, we're going to open up this Google Drive step here, and we actually need to connect our account. So this needs a client ID and a client secret, and bear with me here. So if you do have any trouble, you can go to the documentation here, which is actually how we will start connecting our Google Drive to N8N. So we can open up the docs right here, and this is just N8N's documentation. From here we can scroll down, and I'm going to select the Google Cloud console, and then it should bring us to a page that looks something like this. So from here, this is going to maybe be a little bit overwhelming, but bear with me here, it's not too complicated. So we can go to the top left, and this will give us a list of projects. So you probably won't have anything made here. I do, but it's going to be the same regardless. So we're going to select on this, and then we're going to create a new project. We can name this project. So you might want to name it something like N8N. I'm going to do N8N demo. And then we can just select create, and then you can see it's loading right here as it's creating our project for us. So then we can go up to the notifications and select this project, or we can go back to the list of projects and select it here. All you want to do is just make sure that the name changes right here, and then it will also be displayed there, just telling us that we've actually selected on that project that we just made. So the next thing we want to do is go over to the navigation menu on the left side here. Here we're going to go down to APIs and services, and then go down to OAuth consent screen. From here we can select get started, and then we're going to create an app inside of this project to again connect to N8N. So I'm going to call this N8N, add a support email, just populates automatically. We're going to select external here, click next, and then again we can add an email address. Click next, agree, continue, and then create. So then once we've reached this page, we're going to go under the metrics section and go over to the right side and select create OAuth client. The application type is going to be a web application. The name I'm going to rename as N8N. And then we're going to go down to the authorized redirect URL. So we actually need to add a URL here, and this we're actually going to get from N8N. So if we go back to our workflow that we were just working on, you can see it actually gives us that OAuth redirect URL. So if we just click on this, you can see it copies to my clipboard. We can go back over and paste that into the URL here, select create, and you can see it creates that client for us. We can click OK, and then it takes us to a page listing out all the clients that we've created. So I'm going to select on that client that we just made, and then on the right side here we get the client ID. So again, we're going to copy this client ID, go over here and paste that into the client ID section. Click on the client secret, which is down here. So just click copy on the client secret. You can paste that in there. So from here, we're just going to select sign in with Google, select your Google account, and then you should just be able to select, I think, continue, and then it will give you a list of permissions. So I just select all the permissions you want N8N to have. In this case, we are uploading files and then downloading them again. We can also delete them at the end of this if you don't want to maintain that record of receipts inside your Google Drive, which I'll show you at the end of this tutorial here. But just select this, log in with Google, select the permissions you want to give, click continue, and then it will approve this access here. So I'm going to close out of this. I've already connected my account here, so I'm going to select this, and then what we are doing here is we are just uploading that file that we received through Telegram, and we're just giving it a upload date for today. So if you're uploading several receipts in a day, you can change how this is formatted. You might want just today's date and time, which would look like this. So you can see date, time. It gives us the date and the time that it was submitted, just to kind of separate the receipts that are being uploaded. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Just leave it like that. So then what you can do is you can go into your Google Drive, make a folder. I just called mine receipts. You can see that here. So the parent drive, I just selected my drive, and then the folder, you're just going to select this drop down and select the folder that you just made for uploading their sheets. That just keeps our Google Drive a little bit more organized. So once we've done that, we can go into the download a file, and we are just referencing the file that we just uploaded into our Google Drive here by the ID. We're just sending in that file ID and downloading that same file again, just to get it kind of in the right format so that we can send it into this OpenAI step right here. So in the next step, after we have that file downloaded, we are using an OpenAI step. So OpenAI is the same company that owns ChatGPT. That's why the logos look like that. But in this step, we are taking in an image, and then what this tool can actually do is we can analyze an image. So you can see it takes in images, and then it can answer questions about that image. So it can actually read the text on the receipt, and that is what I'm asking for back from this step right here. I said we were going to be given a receipt for business expenses, and then output the following information. So the receipt number, the date, the receipt total, list of all the items, and then for all the items, I need the name, price, line item, and then the quantity. So depending on the information that you actually want from your receipt, you can edit this if you'd like. And you might not be a business owner, you might just be doing this to record your own expenses as well, so you can remove business expenses. And then we actually need to connect our OpenAI account. So to do that, we're going to select this drop down, create new credential, and then here all we need is an API key. So this will be a little bit simpler than the Google connection. So I'm going to open up a new tab here. We're going to just search OpenAI API, and mine pops up first here. We're just going to open their API platform. I'm going to log in really quickly. So I'm going to log into their API platform, and then no matter what page it takes you to, it should look something like this, where we can go up to the top and select the dashboard, go over to the left side here and select the API keys, and then here we actually need to create a new secret key. So select this button. It should ask you to name that key, and then it will give you the secret key. You do actually have to add, I think it's like $5 to this account. It's not much, and it does last a very long time. But don't share the secret key. Write it down, but don't share it, because that will allow other people to use your API key and using your money. So I don't think you can see it again, so write it down, but copy that secret key, go back, and we're just going to paste it into this API key section here. You don't have to worry about this organization ID. We can just click save, and then that will connect your OpenAI account into Anyden here. So from here, that is extracting the information that we need from that image or that receipt. And then what we are doing is we are sending it to an OpenAI model here. There are several different ways you can go about doing this, so you can probably do it all in this step. I just chose to separate it so we can get an output that we can easily use. So if you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. But you can do this different ways if you chose to. But what we are doing is we are sending that output that we received in the OpenAI step before. So we are basically transcribing, or just taking the text out of that receipt, at least the parts that we need, Then we are sending it to another AI step here, and that's just going to format and provide all of that data in a way that we can then upload it to our Google Sheet. You could use Excel as well. And what you're doing here is we're just saying, respond in the following format. So I need all of each line item to have the following information. So I chose to get everything, basically divide and get every piece of information for every item. So you can see that the invoice total is going to be the same across all the items, but it just helped with, formatting it in a spreadsheet. All the sections there, the cells are filled for every row. So that's just how I chose to do it. You can kind of change that if you don't like how I did that, but we are getting the invoice total, the date of purchase, the quantity, invoice number. So again, invoice number, invoice total, and the date of purchase are going to be all the same for an individual receipt. The name, the price, the line item, and the quantity are going to change, but you can kind of read through the rest of this. I'm not going to give it too in-depth as to what this is actually saying, but essentially we're just formatting it so we can send it to Google Sheets. This step here is just taking multiple items. So we are sending, in this example, it was 3 line items that we are sending. So we're just splitting those 3 line items into separate items, and then we can upload them all into Google Sheets. So you can see we're just plugging in the fields here. And in this case, I had the name, price. You can kind of read through the rest of those. And that is why I'm using this step here, is because I need to be able to reference each individual attribute of that line item and then filling it into these individual fields here. So this step again is just taking this big chunk of text here and then just separating it out into individual values that I can reference when plugging it into Google Sheets. So that's what this is doing, and I'll show you exactly how to reference each of those. And then here at the end, we have a Google Drive step. So if you want to delete the file, you'll just pass in the file ID and then delete the file. So if you don't want to save those, you can do this as well, but I'm just going to leave it as is for right now. So what this looks like to actually fill in some of these values, I'm going to change this to inactive so we can actually test this workflow. So what this looks like for testing and kind of getting some of these variables, if you want to change the Google Sheet here, you want different values at the top. I'm linking the Google Sheet here, so you can click on it and make a copy of it there if you choose to do so. If you do want to change this though, I'm going to walk you through doing that. So we're going to take an example of a receipt. I'm going to copy this and then we can send it back. We can just go back to this example here. So we're going to drag this over. I'm just going to enter it in the bottom section here. I'll show you what that looks like. So either way works. I'm going to do it says send them in a quick way. Looks like this. We can click send, sends it off, and then we're going to go over to init-in. And since our workflow is inactive, we can actually test this. So we can go to the bottom and select test workflow, and you can see that it actually receives that file. So what this looks like is it runs. You just select the test workflow at the bottom, and then you can see it receives it. It goes through here. And then I'm going to try that again. So we're going to drag that over here. Oops. Click send, and then what this looks like is we can select test workflow, and then we can actually pause it, and you can see it stops halfway through. So it's gone through these first 4 nodes here, first 4 steps, and then we can see we downloaded it. We can click play on this step. You can see that's completed. Then we can go to the next one. And then you can see it sends off that item, and this is what this looks like. So it sends off a list of items. So you can see each of the items is contained in that same list. But then what we need to do is we need to split out those items individually. So you can see it's now split the one item into 3 line items in this receipt. So what we can do here is we actually need to reference each of these individually. And how we can do that is we can edit and drag in these fields here. So you can see the name, I'm going to drag in to the name spot. Not too difficult there. Price, drag in here. So depending on the different fields here at the top, the different columns that we have set up, you will be able to add them inside of. So what that looks like is we can go to the bottom and select add column to send, and it will actually fill in and gather all of these columns that we have already set up. So you can see I haven't added date yet. I can add date, and then I can go over to the date of purchase and drag in that field here. Now you can see each of these just represents the value that it's sending in. You can see the preview there at the bottom, and that is how you'll set that up if you decide to change the Google Sheet here. And then remember, we do need to change the format, so you'll want to specify the types of information that you want back from that receipt here, as well as in this previous OpenAI step as well, in this prompt here. So if you do want to change the sheet, change the OpenAI, both of these OpenAI steps, and then change the Google Sheet here. But that should be everything. You do need to actually connect your Google Sheet account, which I'll show you very quickly. But let me make sure that is everything before. Okay. So to connect your Google Sheet account, you will already have your Google account set up, I believe. Yeah, so what we do is you will have to do this. So click on this credential, create new credential, and then just sign in with Google. So sign into your Google account that you just used to make the project. Then we actually need to go back to that project page very quickly, and we can go to the top search bar right here, and we're going to search for Sheets. Select the Google Sheets API, and then just select Enable. And you can see it's now enabled that API. So we are just accessing Google Sheets through our project that we had already created, and we just had to approve that inside of this as well. So sign in here and then give it access here, and you'll be good to go. So then it'll actually just give you the list of the documents you have. It'll give you the sheet. All of that will fill in automatically, and then just select the values that you want to send. And again, that just fills in from a list automatically. So just add it in like the first row here, add the column titles that you want, and then it will fill in from there. So I think that about does it. I know this one was a little bit more complicated with all the different connections we had going on here, but hopefully it makes sense. If you do still need help, drop a comment down below. If you want this entire thing built out completely for you, just based on your business specifically, then book a call using the link in the description, and we can talk and see how it might look for your business specifically. But if you did get anything from this video, leave a like and subscribe, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Have a good one.